Yes! Oh, yes! Ladies and gentlemen, turn down your headphones. It is Friday. It is the 2022 version of August 12th. How's everybody doing? Everybody's doing. Oh, I don't want to say it too soon. In 48 hours, we will know the result of the biggest game of the season thus far. Yes, we will. Chelsea, the old enemy, against Tottenham. It's happening. How's everyone feel about it? I've also got to do a little bit of, catching up. I dropped a piece of content earlier saying there's no one going to leave, so we can't sell, we can't buy. And then within half an hour of me publishing the content, finds out that Giovanni Lo Celso is out, on his way. They're going to talk about that. I got a new friend, a guy that's been on the channel before, a friend of the show. Me and him are going to go through that and all your transfer news, views and clues, but most importantly, the Tottenham Chelsea preview show! Ladies and gentlemen! Oh, the Spurs Talk Show! It starts right now! Lovely touch from him though. Harry Kane, Lucas Moura, can you do something, please? Last chance, McDoherty! Oh, you shite! And there could be from the dead to the don't fuck it up now, don't fuck it up. Go and win it. Let's go. Last chance. Stephen Bergwijn is through. Win it, Stephen. Come on! Yes! He's won it! He's gonna win it! Oh my God! Oh my God! We did it! Check this out. How's everybody doing? Welcome to this impromptu Friday show. It is 6:10. We're not going to be going longer than 7:30. I've got to streamline this show. We've got a lot to get through. Let me just get down to it. I'm not going to mess around. I ain't going to mess around. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to my guest, and I won't do it to myself. It's irrelevant. It's unnecessary. Let's find out who's in the background to help me through today. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. You know him as the captain, El Capitan of Spurs Related. He's the Relatables. Admiral Relatable. I love that about him. Hopefully he'll relate with you guys this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world. Please welcome to the show. It's James. Hey there,
yes,
bro.
guys. How are we doing? Absolutely love the intro. Love the music gets me hyped on this show. I can't lie. And yeah, thanks for inviting me, Sean, mate.
Great. Good to have you, man. Good to have you. How you doing? You good?
I'm good, mate. Very busy, but yeah, boiling. Like I said, backstage, I just had a shower, dried myself, and now have got a sweaty forehead again because it's about 39 degrees here. But no, I'm all good. Looking forward to the game on Sunday, obviously. Nervous and excited, but I'm sure we'll get into things and all the details today. Lots of Spurs news today as well.
Well, let me start with that. Actually, no, yes. I mean, I don't know if there's that much Spurs. Is there a lot of Spurs news? Have I missed some stuff?
The coaching announcements, press conference, and what Conte said. A little bit of team news, I guess. Yeah.
We'll definitely get to all of that stuff. Stay there, James. Let me just say hello to some of the Spurs Talk Show ponies and the puppies. Listen, guys, I'm not going to have the time to go through because we're on a very short leash today. I'm not going to have a chance to call out all of the members of the show, but all of you puppies and all of you ponies, I really appreciate you. I will be calling you out. Of course, I will on Sunday when we do the live stream. So don't think I'm neglecting you, but let me just say hello and see who's in the audience today. We got Moon Dog. What's happening, Moon Doggy Dog? He says, good evening, Sean. And the chat, what's happening, my man? He said, Lynch 616 in the house as well. So evening, Sean. Avenging all. Avenging? Evening all is what he really meant. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Good to see you, my member, Mr. R Green 216. Evening, Sean, and everyone in the chat. How you doing, buddy? How you doing, my man? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Stuart 727. What's happening, Stu? I hope you got access. I think you did get access to the WhatsApp group. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're doing well. This is evening, Sean, and evening, everyone. Evening, Stuart. MCDKFC. I've never seen that name before. He's saying, where's Shawnee? He's saying it like he knows me. I don't know you, bro. I love the fact that you're here. If you are here, welcome. By the way, to everybody, because I've turned off the subscription mode only thing today. I just want to see if I get to see some new people in the comments. I just thought I'd change it up. So if you are new here, then welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. Please hit the like button, guys. Do me a favor before I get into the content. Just smash that like button for me now. There's 40 of you here.
It's free. We should have 40 likes already.
Should have more than that because there's probably like people out there that have got several accounts, you know, and like, yeah, whatever. But just if you can do me a favor, hit that like button for us, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you're not a member, not a subscriber. I really appreciate that as well. We got who else we got in the house here? We got Nicky Collinson, smash and grab at the bridge. What's happening, Mr. Ranjit? I hope you're doing well, my man. Listen, you're never going to beat me at pool, bro. You're never going to beat me at pool. Big man versus big man. You know that against little men, you've got a chance because they spent their life growing up playing football, playing, I don't know, netball, playing volleyball or basketball. But when you come up against the big man, you know there's only 3 sports that big men look decent with in their hands. One of them's a rugby ball. One of them is a cue, like a snooker cue. And the other one is a table tennis paddle. And I am awesome at all of the above. You're never going to beat me, Nick. You're never going to smash me, man. Cooper MS, Gulf Coast Spurs is in the house. He's saying, cheers, Sean. Thanks for the stream to get me through the last 3 hours of the workday. It's not going to be a 3-hour stream, Cooper, but I hope you're having a good time anyway, my man. Hope you enjoy it. Let me see who else in the house. We've got Mark Mabbott Cousins. What's happening, Mr. Mabbott? Hope you're well. And the same goes to you, Paul Longworth. How you doing, buddy? Lisa's in the house. What's happening, Lisa? All the way from Mexico. I hope you're enjoying, and I hope your doggy's okay. Great, I made it in time for the intro. Good evening, Sean. Hi to Bugsy. Bugsy says hi back. So does Chris. What's happening, Chris? Good to see you, my man. Leon's in the house. Can't beat Sean's intro for getting you into the mood. Appreciate that. Tom Marcannon, how you doing? Leon, what's happening? Sun is shining, beer is flowing, and Spurs Talk Show is streaming. I like that. Nice. Bobby K's in the house. What's happening, Bobby? Good to see you, my man. Tom Marcannon. Anybody else haven't said hello to just yet? Carl Simpson's also in the house. What's happening? What's happening, Carl? What's happening?
Big up, Carl.
What's happening? And Sebas Wolf is in the house as well. And Nicky's saying, don't go too early. Dude, it's not even a concern. It's not even a concern, bro. It's not even a concern. I got steady hands, my man. Steady hands. Ian Fergus is also in the house. He's saying afternoon, evening, or good to see you. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate it. Do smash that like button. Right, James, I got to start this off by talking a little bit about the news. I did a show. I did a Tottenham walk this morning, and the whole show was basically the idea that we ain't going to sign anybody new because we can't get rid of the dross that we have. And we've got 4 players too many to make our 25-man squad. Those players were at the time Ndombele, Lo Celso, Reguilon, and Harry Winks. And I still stand by the idea that it's difficult to sign more players when you can't get rid of these players. But as soon as I got to it. Oh, hang on. Let me get rid of that. Sorry. As soon as I got to the... let me get rid of that altogether. As soon as I got to the... back to the office, back to the desk and uploaded it, I saw this one. Napoli's deal to sign Tanguy and Belly is progressing, but there is still work to be done. And this is the big one, I guess. The Gio Lo Celso to Villarreal done deal, and here we go. Full agreement with Tottenham. Lo Celso will join on a loan with no buy option included. Spurs can interrupt the loan in January in case they've had a bid for a permanent move. Of course, always up to the player. I'll let you run where you want to go with this one, James. Do you want to start with Gio? Do you want to start with Ndombele?
Let's start with Gio, because obviously that was only announced a couple of hours ago by Fabrizio, and I mean it's a matter of time. It was a matter of time when this was getting a here we go. It was only going to be Villarreal that went in for this guy, because apparently he only plays good for two teams in the world. That's Argentina and Villarreal. Obviously, he was good at Betis when we signed him. We thought, we were going to get a very good player, and we saw 2 or 3 signs of it. But in the grand scheme of things, this is going to be no loss. Conte didn't want him as part of the team, as you were mentioning earlier, Sean. 4 players apparently, according to I think it was the Evening Standard, have been separated from the team training, and so Winks. And Ndombele obviously was the Celso, and Reguilon have to train alone. Now that's absolutely crazy, and what a statement that is from Conte. I mean, big the guy up. You can't pick him up.
How do you feel about that, though, mate? Like, I know that Ndombele's been disrespectful to the club, and I know that you could make the argument if you were super critical that Lo Celso and Reguilon are part of the party boy atmosphere that disappear off to wherever they go, Monaco or Paris or whatever, and then come back in at 3:00 in the morning. But Harry Winks, he might not be a good player for Tottenham, but he's never been unprofessional.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna come back with this, because listen, Winks, at the end of the day, a lot of people hate on him, right? And including myself, I have as well. But
same. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you've got to also ask the question, has it also been a bit of the club's fault for keeping him one too many seasons? I say one too many. It's probably been about 3 or 4 too many seasons. But I do get what you're saying. Letting him train alone does seem very, very unfair, especially as he is a Tottenham boy at the end of the day. He is, he's made it very clear that he loves the club. When he scored against West Ham, was it his Premier League debut? The guy's passion we haven't seen very often in a Tottenham shirt over the years. And listen, like I said, I can hate on the guy for bad performances, but at the end of the day, you've got to look elsewhere and say, well, should he have been moved on by the club? Should more have been done about it? And letting him train alone, I do agree. If it is true, it does seem a little bit harsh, but maybe the other thing is we never know the full picture, right? He could have been asked to leave. He could have got a couple of offers and he said, I'm not leaving. At the end of the day, it is up to the agent and the players as well as the club. So one thing to mention is we don't know the full story, but I do agree. I think it does seem very unfair to make him train alone. As for Ndombele, I think it's completely right. I'm not even going to start lying. Like, the guy is sat on £200,000 a week, Sean. £200,000 a week. And I've watched him live at games before they go out and play. And where the subs kind of warm up separately to the first team on the pitch before the match, like 30 minutes before the match. I've seen Ndombele, I think it was the Celso, I can't remember exactly, it was Dele Alli at the time for sure. They're just having a chat, walking around. They're meant to be running up and down to warm up, or at least jog. And the guy's having a laugh with his snood up by his eyes, like jogging around, laughing around with people.
Yeah, zero respect. Yeah.
That's zero respect for the club. So treat him like he wants to be treated, which is clearly like an absolute mug, with all due respect.
No.
So,
with all lack of due respect.
I have no sympathy. If he's going to treat my club like absolute rubbish, treat him like rubbish. I mean, I would have terminated the guy's contract and taken the hit, like we did it with Serge Aurier, if I'm being quite fair.
Yeah, but he's got 30. I think when we did it with Serge Aurier, he had a year left, and I think he was earning like £3.5 million a year, right? So, or maybe £4 million a year. But Ndombele is earning 30 million quid over the next 3 years. You have to pay. But to me, I genuinely think that there's an option, right? So I mentioned this on the Tottenham Walk a few days ago. Like, I feel like I'd understand him like anybody else being asked to to like sacrifice 200 grand a week to earn 40 grand a week elsewhere if you can get it, if you can get someone to pay him. Why would you do that? You're sacrificing 20 million quid in earnings or whatever. Doesn't make any sense. What I think would be, even though I think that he should take the advice that you can resurrect your career, get it going. If you wait these 3 years out, you're going to be 27 years old, and then no one's going to trust you. No one's going to have any faith in you. If you were to take the hard line stance of like, okay, I'll sacrifice this, or I'll come to an arrangement with the club where I get half of it, whatever, but I want to move on and resurrect my career. I think I think that there's a pathway to happiness for him. But in terms of
what
like,
here?
No, not here. No, not here. I'm just saying like the idea that if you could forgive anyone, like you yourself, James, or me, or anybody else, if you were earning, I don't know, let's take 3 numbers off of it. If you were earning 200, grand per year rather than, but you were miserable in your job and you hated every day of it, but then the only way you could get out was to go and take a step back and go back to earning 40 grand a year or 30 grand a year as an employee of someone else, you'd think twice. It'd be with a real heavy heart and a long decision to do that. For him, I understand why you don't want to give up the money, but there is a way that you can, you take a step back and then you move forward. The same, you could make the same argument to someone like Harry Winks. Like if Harry Winks doesn't have any suitors in the Premier League, if nobody in the Premier League wants him, then he probably could go and get a gig at like a team that is going to bounce back into the Premier League. I know it would be horrible on his pride or his ego, but you could go and get a job at Norwich or Watford or one of those sorts of teams. Go and smash it in the Championship. Like just go and dominate. Go and get all your confidence back. And then 12 months down the line, you're coming back into the Premier League and you are a better player because you've. I don't know if whether Harry Winks has got a lack of confidence or not. He doesn't seem to. Sorry, go on, mate. Yeah.
No, it's a good point. Going to a Championship club, but on that point, you could see it can go the other way. For example, is Todd Cantwell left when he was at Norwich in the Premier League last year and went to was it Bournemouth? And I mean, he did absolutely nothing. I think he had a bit of a reality check. The guy thought he was like Norwich's Grealish, and actually he was Norwich's Harry Winks. I mean, it was scary, his drop in form. I don't think he even got a goal contribution for Bournemouth. I'd have to bring up the stats, but I remember listening to a podcast and they said he did absolutely nothing as a bit of a reality check, and then I'm not too sure where he's at now. But listen, it can go either way doing that move, but it depends if Harry Winks or Ndombele at the end of the day are more interested in their footballing career or whether they're interested in the wages. And we know that Ndombele on that line is much more towards the money, and that's why a lot of the reason why we can't get rid of him, like you're saying, he doesn't want to take that pay cut. He played for Lyon last year on loan. He did 1 or 2 good things. One of them was against West Ham in the Europa League. I mean, the guy is. It's actually kind of sad to see, but I don't want to sit here and say it's sad because I don't have, like I said, I don't have any respect for someone that sits at my club eating up the wages that doesn't even put in 100% because we know what player he can be. But I really do feel like he just has given up and he doesn't really care.
Do you think that there is, so that the noise out, I brought it up a minute ago, obviously, hang on a second, let me bring it back up again. I do want to move on to the Chelsea. We've still got plenty of time, it's okay. But do you think that there's, I'm actually going to ask you 2 questions in one here. Like, so first of all, Tanguy on Ndombele, right, to Napoli. But when you think about the fact that we can't even sell Lo Celso, like it's a low sell slow or a no sell so, right? We can't get rid of him. We can only get him out on loan. Thus far, as much as I've been very impressed with Fabio Paratici's ability to get deals done on the incoming transfers, the jury is still very much out on his ability to clear, to clear the deadwood out. Whilst we got rid of 4 players on loan in January, they've all come back.
Yeah,
and we still can't get rid of them. Right, we still can't get rid of them. We still can't get rid of Tanguy. Maybe he goes to Napoli, but I don't think he goes on a full-term deal. We can't even get 10 million for Lo Celso. So, do you think Tanguy will go to Napoli, or do you think he's going to hang around and just rot in by training by himself for the next 18 months?
No, I think he'll go somewhere. I don't know if it will definitely be Napoli. I don't know how. I don't know what tier that source is. Sky Sports, what's that? S-Heth.
I don't know what that is. Yeah,
but it's one of the Sky Sports journalists, isn't it? But I think he'll go somewhere. I think I could see it being Serie A, but at the end of the day, it's going to be. I see it as a bit like a Bakayoko when he went from Chelsea and he didn't really hit the ground running, and he ended up going to
Ibrahim Bakayoko.
No, Timothy Bakayoko.
Oh, Timothy. Yeah. Sorry, I was just saying Ibrahim Bakayoko was like a championship manager player from like years and years ago.
No. Timothy Bakayoko. Remember, Chelsea signed him for God knows how much from Monaco. Remember? Yeah.
And
then he went to. So since then, so this is a great example actually. So they signed him in 2017. Chelsea. You'll have to find what the fee was. I think it was about 40 million. And since 2017, which was 5 years ago, he's gone to AC Milan on loan, Monaco on loan, Napoli on loan, and now he's back at AC Milan on loan. So he's had 4 loan spells. This screams like a Tanguy and Ndombele, where you can't get rid of the player because they're on the wage bill because they bought him in thinking he's this incredible talent from Monaco, in which case, obviously, Tanguy and Ndombele Lyon. And it's backfired. You have to keep loaning him out to try and get some of the wages back. And you just can't sell this player because, quite frankly, he's absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
That's the end of the day. So, listen, I think he will go somewhere on loan, but
I also think, James, like you just got to remember, right, that from what I've been like reading recently, the difference in valuations, in salaries, in just financial numbers generally between the Premier League and everywhere else in Europe, it's night and day. If you look at like Filip Kostic, right, a player that I don't know why we didn't go after. It blows my mind that we didn't. He goes
West Ham
to
thought they had him, by the way. They were just quickly. West Ham thought they had him. They were retweeting loads of my old tweets on Spurs related, saying Kostic, do you think he'd fit well in Spurs? Retweeting it, taking the piss because they think they had him. Absolutely love it. I'm going to go and retweet them back. It's absolutely fantastic.
The retweet inception is looping around. No, look, I just think that like someone like him who ends up going to Juventus on 40 grand a week for 12 million quid. That doesn't touch the sides of a Premier League transfer.
Sign him up for 60k a week, 80k a week. Double it, 80k a week, right?
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
We're getting rid of Reguilon. What's he on? He must be on about that, 80k.
70, 80 grand a week, yeah. I think someone told me yesterday Brian Hill is on 80 grand a week. Brian Hill.
And he still can't sort out that haircut. But anyway, yeah, you know, it's crazy, isn't it? The football. Like, if he actually is on 40k a week,
I think so. That's why I heard 40, 45k a week with 12 million quid from who was it to Juventus? Who did he come from? Leipzig? No, not Leipzig.
Who?
Kostic.
Kostic came from Frankfurt.
Frankfurt. Sorry, thank you. It's madness to me, but it shows you that if you want to buy players in from Europe, you're in as an English club. You're in a buyer's market, right? You can afford to go and do this stuff if you want to. For some reason, I don't know whatever happened with Kostic, but there's plenty of other examples as well. But if you're trying to sell players to Europe, it's very difficult to do it because you pay up for whatever reason. You pay the Premier League like tax. You pay up for these players, and then if they don't work out, you can't get rid of them. You just can't get rid of them, and it's I think it's something that clubs like Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, or Man United that have got so much money can tolerate. They can tolerate these mistakes, these slip-ups. But I don't know if the smaller clubs in the Premier League can. It's an interesting one. Just quickly though, before we move on to the Chelsea game, I do want to bring up the quotes from the press conference. How optimistic are you that Tottenham are going to get rid of? Celso looks like he's going to go, even if it's only for a year. How optimistic are you that we're going to get rid of Reguilon, Winks, and Ndombele? And even if you want to go one step further, because we still can't bring any, even if we get rid of those 4, we've still got a max 25 squad. If you want to bring in a Zaniolo, if there's any chance of us getting a centre-back, then we still need to go and move on other players like Tanganga or Sanchez or Brian Hill as well. So how hopeful are you that we can really make enough names leave the club before September the 1st?
Well, one thing I must mention before you get my analysis on if we're going to get rid of these players.
Yeah.
If you look at our transfer market so far, and I'm not going to sit here and say our transfer market has been bad, because I know our transfer window has been bad, because I know our transfer window has been very good. but they've got some people on YouTube saying it's like a 6 out of 10 window, which isn't right. But then I've got some people saying it's a 10 out of 10 window, which I don't think is right.
What do you think it is?
I think it's a 7 or an 8, probably an 8 at the moment, because at the end of the day, it's not a 10 without getting rid of, like you said, those 4 players that clearly Conte doesn't fancy and doesn't want in the squad. But having said that, one thing I must mention is this £150 million war chest, if you like, that we were promised back in May, June time, that we've sort of eaten into, but only a third. Like, if I got up the transfer market now, if you look at our net spend overall...
50 million, right? 50 million?
It's around 50, 60 million, right? Because we've got rid of Bergwijn and we've got in the players, 2 or 3 of which are a free or a loan, right? So when's the 100 million going to be spent? Do you think we'll spend it? I mean, flipping a question on you before I then answer the loan.
No, it's a great segue.
Because a lot of people are saying it, aren't they? A lot of people are saying, well, if we're promised 150 million, to be pumped in, our net spend should be around that, not 50 million pounds. So it's also where I was saying we've got to get rid of these players to get some in. There's not a cap on how many players you can have in a squad. So why, even if Reguilon and Ndombele don't get sold, which I hope they do, why can't we get other players in and they're not in the match day squad? Why can't we do that?
Well, I mean, because if you sign a player, look, you have to remember whatever the cost of the player is. Like if Ndombele gets paid, 200, if he costs us 60 million quid over a 6-year contract, it's actually 120 million for him personally. It's a 120 million pound deal, right? 10 million quid a year. If you were to go and sign a player, and we can talk about this, I haven't done the research enough to be completely fluent on this right now, but the Barcelona shit show is hilarious to watch from the other side, right? To take a zoom in, and I will do enough research on this to really articulate this in a couple of days' time. But Barcelona essentially sold all of their, or a large percentage of their media rights, of their future merchandise sales to get themselves out of a hole. And they went through this mad rebuild. Like they had, like it's almost like an 18-year-old getting offered a credit card for the first time. And they're just going, blowing it.
You know what it is? It's like, I don't know if you've ever played it on the PlayStation, but essentially Monopoly, right? Monopoly, you played it where you start mortgaging your properties and stuff. They basically shit themselves and unmortgaged everything, then put it back to rent because they're panicking. They need all the money back from their deposit on their mortgage. That's essentially what they're doing. It's absolutely
the problem is that they've signed so many players that they can't register. And when you sign players you can't register, like people like Depay, people like Aubameyang, they are on, I don't know what Depay, I think Depay's on maybe 120 grand a week. I know Aubameyang's on a lot of money.
200,
right?
Something.
They're trying to get rid of him. They signed Frank Kessie on 160 grand a week, and they got him on a free transfer, but they can't give him a squad number. Now, Frank Kessie and Christensen, who came from Chelsea, fortunate for them, they have apparently, allegedly, a clause in their contract that means if they're not signed into a squad number at some point this month, then they can actually leave on a free transfer before the end of the window. So, like, Barcelona is the kind of opposite of what you'd look at Tottenham. Tottenham try and do things in a kind of conservative, restrictive, like risk-averse way of doing things. And listen, a lot of things you can say, a lot of things about Daniel Levy. A lot of people, a significantly larger percentage of people that watch this show or other shows in the YouTube community have a real distaste for Daniel Levy than the average Tottenham fan does, just because when you're if you're in the online community, just like any political statement, the most vocal ends of any extreme are the loudest, right? And they're always on the extremes. But the one thing you say about Daniel Levy, and I'm someone that defends him more often than not, is he's not particularly pro-risk. He's risk-averse. And so for me, to answer your question directly, why don't we just sign players and then worry about it later? Well, the problem is that you're not just paying the money for the player, you're also paying the wages, right? And it's a huge cash flow absorption that fucks you up, which is why I also don't like the idea of tearing up Ndombele's contract. I would rather than pay the guy 30 million quid and say it was a sunk cost, see you later, you've been an absolute disaster. I'd rather the club figure out a relationship with him where you could rewrite the contract and say, you can leave now, go and sign for Napoli on a free transfer, get your 40 grand a week from them, and we'll pay you your 200 grand a week. But I don't want to pay you right now 30 million quid because it's going to destroy our cash flow. I would rather pay you that 30 million quid over the next 8 years so that we can absorb that hit into the ongoing running costs of the business. I'm not sure if I'm making sense, right?
No, you are making sense. What you're saying is you don't want to just write off the contract. You want to, you want to try and get some of the money. You're never going to get the money back into your club, but you want to
absorb it over time, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
I get what you're saying.
It's like, would you rather pay for your, I don't know, your new 60-inch TV in one lump sum, or would you rather pay for it interest free over a year, right? Like sometimes, that's the way you can. That's the way you can structure your fight, as long as you don't get yourself in debt doing it. And I think Tottenham are someone that don't want to get themselves in a pickle. Barcelona are the opposite of that. Barcelona seem to be like a child with a credit card who go, we've just sold our fucking TV rights, we've just sold our media rights, we've just sold 20% of our shirt sales to whatever it is for the next 10 years. We need to rebuild now. They've already signed these players, and yet they continue to want to sign new players. They don't want to lose the players they've already got who they haven't paid the wages to, like Frankie de Jong. To me, it's an absolute shit show. It's a bigger shit show than the guy who runs Everton, who spent 600 million quid over the last 7 years and got nowhere. Barcelona are a ticking time bomb.
There's one more layer with the Barcelona thing. I know we don't want to talk about Barcelona too much on a Tottenham show, but apparently another part of that is with the media rights that they were selling, they made some kind of, I don't know how true this is, again, don't take it 100% what I'm saying, but what I've heard is they made some kind of company that was essentially bidding on the media rights against others. Their company, so it was a fake company they were doing to then rise the price of the media rights. That's how shit show that is. They're essentially frauding the media rights. That's called painting
there's a thing that you do in investment banking called painting the tape, where if you own a company or if you own shares in it, you buy and then you buy the next thing and you sell the it's basically the same thing. It's essentially defrauding the price. So you're frauding everybody into thinking that the price is a certain level when it really isn't. It's
completely illegitimate. It's
also completely illegal if you can prove it. Yeah.
And they're doing that. One of the biggest clubs in the world. I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't want to go too much on about that, but in terms of Tottenham's like financial stance, I do agree it's like kind of very safe, very, Levy doesn't want his accounts to essentially, be in the negative for no reason just because he's written off a £30 million worth of wages contract over how many years Ndombele has left. I completely get what you're saying.
I also just think that he's somebody like when he's if you're somebody who like you call him what you want, you might hate him, you might like him, you might respect him, you might like want the guy dead, but essentially
who, Ndombele or Levy?
No, Daniel Levy, right? If like whatever your thoughts are on Daniel Levy as a person, as an owner of the club. The fact that we all agree that he is somebody, I think we all agree that he's somebody who's risk averse. When he has pushed the boat out, the 4 players that he has spent the most money on have all been shit shows. Ndombele, shit show. Lo Celso, shit show. Sanchez, shit show. Who now Richarlison. Sissoko, right? I mean, God, if Richarlison is an absolute shit show, then like, I don't believe Richarlison will be a huge success at Tottenham. I've said that a few times. I hope I'm wrong, but I think we overpaid for him. But I really hope he is, because if Daniel Levy has a track record of paying well above the odds for 5 players and all 5 times they turn out to be they lacking in value for money, I don't like Daniel Levy's the sort of person who's like, he's even going to be more embedded into his opinion that spend big money on big players doesn't return value.
No, because I'm actually taking that a little bit differently, Sean, because I would say, we'll look at the ones that have gone well in the last 6 months to a year. Romero, Kulusevski, both loan to buy options. So we try before we buy. We see if the player fits into the team. Okay, luckily they both did. Luckily they're both revelations at Tottenham. But Kulusevski, Bentancur, we paid quite a small fee, so it wasn't really a risk. I think we only paid 20 million for him, if that.
Yeah.
But Kulusevski, loan to buy option. We triggered the buy option for that. Romero, same, loan to buy from Atalanta. This is the way you go forward, isn't it? It's like Leon tried before they buyed on Ndombele last season. I think buy clause was like 60 million. Well,
yeah,
let's be
silly.
honest,
That was madness.
we all said that was never going to happen because that's their model, Leon. They say that, you know, they'll try before they buy, and they never buy. It's just a loan. But with the players for Spurs in terms of incomings, I think loans with an option to buy that is the way forward, especially with Daniel Levy and the ownership that goes on. If he's not sure about spending a 60 million on Richarlison, like we don't often do, and like you said, that hardly ever goes well, you do a loan with an option to buy. I would have probably, you're never going to do it with Richarlison though, because Everton won't loan their best player. You've got to buy them off of them, right? Yeah. They needed the money up front. They need to buy a lot of players this window that possibly haven't done enough. So that's why that wasn't.
Well, they couldn't anyway. That money was just keeping them away from the wolf on the door, really, right? Like their FFP position was so bad that I'm surprised they haven't sold more players. I'm surprised they didn't sell Anthony Gordon. I'm surprised they didn't sign sell Demarai Gray. They got a lot of talent there that, for me, I'm surprised they haven't also liquidated, because their FFP positions, and you know what, the one thing that has suited them is the FFP rules have changed and have changed for the first time this year, and they're going to continue to change over the next 3 or 4 years, which I actually haven't done a show about, and I should actually update people that are interested in that. But listen, mate, so just one thing before because I want to move on now, and I'm going to call out your channel in a second. The one thing I do want to say though is that when it comes to the money, like the distribution at 150 million, we've only taken 100 million. I don't know. It's going to be weird if we don't take the other 50 million before the end of the window, then 150 million becomes 100 million, right? And that will then...
It's not even 100 million, is it? Are we saying 150 million is meant to be net spend, or just...
No, we took it as a tranche, right? So that there was 150 million available to be taken from ENIC into the club, and it was taken in tranches, and they decided that they took 100 million quid of it. So they've still got 50 million quid that they haven't taken yet. And if they decide not to take it, then it doesn't matter to us, but essentially to the owners of the club, the shareholders, it just means that the dilution of the share capital and the shares that were in issue, all of those things that essentially diluted. If we took the 150 million, it would have diluted the 26% of people that weren't ENIC or weren't Daniel Levy by about 2.5%. It's quite boring and complicated, but if we only take 100 million, then we don't dilute them by 2.6. We dilute them by 1.8%, for example. I won't bore everybody because it's irrelevant for us. But essentially, the one thing that we have to remember is that just taking that, even if we just took the 100 million, that 100 million wasn't necessarily, according to the terms of the contract, just for on the pitch immediate activities. And we also have to remember that we did owe 50 million quid. I think it was 48 million quid from memory in short-term player liabilities. We had to pay about 50 million quid this summer for players that we'd signed over the previous 4 or 5 years, and those payment details hadn't been settled. And 50 million quid's worth of all that was getting settled at the end of this summer. So that is a slab of money. Plus, if you want to finalize the deal on Romero and Kulusevski. Now, I'm not defending the fact that we haven't spent as much money as we could by saying, well, that's where the money's gone, because I don't know. None of us know. We're not privy to the accounts until the accounts come out in January. But that might be where some of the money has gone. Maybe we've had the wool pulled over our eyes a little bit, thinking that we had all this additional money, but actually a lot of it was there to pay for Kulusevski, if we've finalized that deal, and certainly Romero, which we have to pay for alongside the 50 million quid and other players. I don't know the details, but I'm just saying that might be part of the problem.
Just quickly though, I do understand that, but you just said it yourself when you were saying it. Like I'm playing again devil's advocate, but is that just like pulling the wool over our eyes in terms of
it might be
150 million? Oh, actually, 50 million of that was the Romero fee. Some of that was the Kulusevski fee when that goes through. And 50 million was to pay off other debts we've accrued over the last few years in transfers or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then that's kind of to bring out a statement from the club on the official website.
They had to bring the statement out. They had to, because they're not a publicly limited company, as in they're no longer traded on the stock exchange, but they are still beholden to shareholders. So they do, because there are minority shareholders that never sold their shares. And so when something like that happens, when there is a significant investment of money or any other major business transaction, then they have to legally disclose the details of it. So
fine. But then to tweet it, they don't have no obligation is to put it on social media or tweet it out or
they celebrated it, didn't they? They celebrated it a bit. Yeah.
So they got all the fans hyped. I remember it going out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It all went out and it got announced to the fans. And for the I've lost the word in my head in terms of like the day-to-day fans, the Joe fan like you and I that watch football, that follow it over social media and YouTube, to announce that and hype it up as some kind of 150 million war chest isn't right. And I get what you're saying, and I understand that there will be reasonings why we don't spend 150 million. But I can tell you one thing: it's the 12th of August. We're not spending 150 million net. That's for sure.
For sure.
Even if we spend 80 to 100 million net, some people will still not be happy, and I also understand that. But the one thing you've got to say, Sean, you got to understand, Sean, is 90 million spent on transfers. Well, 60 million of that is Richarlison. 34 million sold in Cameron Carter-Vickers and Steven Bergwijn. 55 million net spend. We're not even near.
Same as Southampton, right? Southampton has spent 55 million quid net spend.
Exactly. And everyone's saying they've had a shocking window.
Everyone calls me out for being the defender of Daniel Levy, right? Everyone, I just call it as I see it. There's a lot of people that are hashtag Levy out or that have been hashtag Levy out that are far more optimistic about this window than I am. I think this window has been relatively underwhelming. I hope that Tottenham can get supremely lucky with injuries. If it stays the way it is, I hope we have to get supremely lucky with injuries, like we did a little bit last season. We managed to scrape through with our defence being rock solid, even though none of us particularly love Davies, particularly love Dyer. Those guys did a job, and we've improved. We've added strength to our squad, but I don't think there's anybody that's really come in those 6 signings that really just immediately gets the first spot. You could make the argument Perisic maybe does when he's fit enough, and maybe Bissouma does when he's fit enough. But apart from that, Jed Spence didn't. I don't think Longley's particularly. I think Longley should be a good player, a good addition. But we were all hoping for something for some wow names, and I like Richarlison. I guess is the marquee signing on value at least. He doesn't wow me. I'm not someone who's going to defend Daniel Levy on this one. I personally think that this window has been underwhelming if it stays the way it does, and I can't see us really having enough time to sign, any more players that are going to really change the apple cart too much. I think we have too little time, too much to do. We have to get rid of Lo Celso, Ndombele, Winks, Reguilon. Even then, you've still got a squad of 25. If you want to get other people in, if you want to get in like a rock solid defender, who the fuck is that, mate? We haven't heard of a centre back being linked with us for 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how many of the good ones are left. I'm not even that bothered about Zaniolo. I don't think he's that good of a player. What are your thoughts?
No, Zaniolo again. One thing to mention is it's not all about the stats, right? It's not all about the goals and assists. But people have been telling me that he's such a creative player. He really contributes. And I pulled up the stats. 36 games played, 2 goals, 2 assists last year. Now, I don't know if some of them were not 90-minute games, but that doesn't wow me. I want to get a player like Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio.
Yeah, that's a marquee.
Ridiculous. That's a marquee signing. 60, 70 million pounds he cost. That would be a statement. Bastoni at centre-back, a statement. I know there's some difficulties with getting him, and he's said his affiliations with Inter.
He's not coming, is he, this summer? We've got to move on from that one.
But Pau Torres, we've suddenly forgotten about. Whether you want him or not, a lot of people I know do want him. We could have got him for about 40, 50 million pounds. That would be a statement as well. I mean,
I don't like Pau Torres for what it's worth. I think Pau Torres is another fucking like a failure waiting to happen.
I think that we will regret not going in for, and we weren't really linked with him. But a player like Koulibaly, experienced, 31, 32 years of age, he's going to replace Rudiger. I'm certain of it. He is going to be class for Chelsea. I could be wrong, and I could get clipped.
Koulibaly's going to be a good player. Yeah, we could have got him. I think we could have got him.
We would have been raving about him. Let's be honest. We would have been absolutely so excited to get Koulibaly. I think Chelsea, although they need some work doing up front, they've actually had a clever window in terms of signing a player like him, where he's kind of gone under the radar. Not many teams have gone in for him, but we're getting upset because we've not signed Zaniolo. I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, there is so many better players out there than Zaniolo. I've already named you a couple in terms of that number 10 position. But
Milinkovic-Savic would be fantastic, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's a statement signing. Like, I agree, Richarlison, some people see as a statement signing, but I think his price was a little too high because you're buying him off a Premier League team. He's Everton's best player by miles, so you had to tempt Everton to actually settle.
Yeah.
So I agree. The window, and the other thing is, if we sell Ndombele and somehow get money from him, I don't think we will. If we somehow get some money for Winks, and the one that's likely is Reguilon, if we get some money for him, there are 55 million net spend.
Reguilon's a bit is where the paycheck might be leveled out. I think you'll see nothing. I think you'll see nothing but a loan for Winks. You'll see nothing but a loan for Lo Celso, clearly. And if you can't get any money for those two, you're not going to get any money for Ndombele.
But Reguilon, say we get 20.
Reguilon, you might get 20 mil. Yeah.
And our net spends 35 mil. And then people really will be asking the question is, should we be signing one or two more players? I don't think we'll sign more than one more player, to be honest with you, Sean.
I don't either. But at the same time, I don't want to come across like I'm too negative.
I'm not being negative.
Yeah, the initial, I'm not saying you are, the initial conversation was like, what do we rate the window at? And you were saying you were seeing some people rating it at a 6. You think it's an 8. Other people think it's a 10.
7.5 at the moment. 7.5. You think it's 7?
I would say, I think it's probably, I initially said it was a 7 after we signed the first 3, before we signed before we signed Richarlison. Since then, I've dropped it down because I'm not that impressed with Richarlison. If Jed Spence is our right wing back option, then I don't know. And then I'm also underwhelmed by our outgoings. I think for me, the jury is still out on Paratici when it comes to his ability to attract players, to attract clubs to buy players we don't want. He seems to be very good at finding players that we can get in, but I don't think so far he hasn't proven anybody who doubts him wrong about his ability to clear out some deadwood. And so for me at the moment, it's a 6.5, just because I don't want to see us left with, if Harry Winks is still a squad member on September the 2nd, like I'll be, surely like there must be a club that we can get him off the books on, Do
you not think that that's a club kind of ethos that we don't get rid of players very easily? Because if you think about it, yes, you could say Paratici, the jury's out on him for not getting rid of these players, but we had Dele Alli for 1 or 2 too many years. We've had Harry Winks for about 4 too many years. And that's before Paratici came in. So would you say that actually this is more to do with maybe Levy and co and Enoch rather than a sporting director or a Paratici?
Well, look, I think you'd be forgiven for having that opinion. I don't think it is. I've been reading a lot on, people like Alistair Gold's Football London blog. I don't know what you think about him, but I think he's definitely got more access to justify or to validate his opinion about whatever's going on than the rest of us.
Oh, Alistair Gold, top tier, yeah.
Top tier. And he was saying, I read a thing from him the other day saying that, Paratici is essentially in charge. Like he's not a director of football that we've seen at Tottenham before. He's almost got more weight than Conte does. He's got certainly taking over whilst Levy's still, involved. Paratici's calling the shots, and that both Conte and Levy are playing second fiddle to what Paratici wants. So
Conte's made it, but if this is true, Conte's made it clear that he doesn't want those 4 players in the squad anyway. Like whether they've left or not, I can't see them featuring in a Tottenham shirt this season. Reguilon, Winks, and Ndombele.
Hopefully never again, right?
Yeah, because okay, you could say if they don't offload them on loan or a sale, then that is like a question mark over Paratici. But the intention is clearly there to sell them. I still do think that Ndombele will go out on loan. Reguilon, it's been so quiet. He's been so inactive on social media as well.
We haven't heard anything about him. It's a weird one, that one, isn't it?
And Winks, we were hearing was going to Everton in June. Well, that's gone quiet as well. Maybe he still will. Hopefully, Everton can do us a favour there. But I mean, I do agree with what you're saying. But also, there is still 2.5, 3 weeks left of the window. So I'm not panicking yet. I'm not going to be sitting.
I'm not panicking either. Not panicking either, mate. I think it's been a really good conversation, actually, James. I've enjoyed chewing it over with you, mate. I think that we're both in the same place. Like we're we're a little bit we can see a dark cloud on the horizon unless we sort of change course with the ship. But there's blue skies in a certain direction. We just need to find the right way to set the sails and catch the wind, right? So
100%.
Love it, mate. Listen, before we move on, there's 135 people that are watching on YouTube. Guys, I'd love it if you could smash a like. I'm also going to drop my man James's channel into the YouTube right now. We're going to move on to the Chelsea game. But guys, I want you, anyone here who hasn't already, James is an absolute smashing guy. He's the captain of his Spurs-related channel. It's a brilliant, brilliant channel. Him and his boys, Jack and Andre, are just wonderful over there. If you haven't checked them out, just hit that link. It's in the description. I'm just pulling it up for you. You're not going to. All you got to do is just hit the link. Just click the link. It will open up another tab in your Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using. Smash the subscribe button, and then you can carry on watching this, and you can check them out later on. The link is also in the description of the video. But James is a fantastic guy, and I want his channel. I really want his channel to continue to grow.
Appreciate that, mate. Yeah, I think we've just hit not a significant milestone. I think we hit 1.26 thousand subscribers. So,
amazing.
I mean, let's see if we can get to 1.3k. I mean, 40 subs, probably quite unrealistic, but I appreciate anyone that comes over. And like Sean said, the guys, it's not just myself, it's Andre and Jack who are top lads as well. And we've got so much content coming up. It's not just the same content as you see on, loads of other YouTube channels. Of course, Sean has his niche in terms of the Spurs walks with Bugsy, but we have a niche in terms of quizzes, which we really want to get back on the road again. And we've had We Are Tottenham TV, obviously Sean on Irish Hotspur, Brian Daigle on Tottenham on Tour. We've had little Spurs trivia battles, past and present Spurs knowledge. So if you guys fancy a Spurs knowledge, do get over there, because we'll get the fans involved as well. The Spurs relatables, as we call them, as Sean said earlier. So we'd really appreciate anyone to go and sub, and plenty of content coming this weekend, obviously with the Chelsea game. I think Sean's coming over with some predictions soon. So there you go. Yeah,
100%. Guys, smash it up. Just hit that link. Lisa's saying, love your channel, James. We haven't got the final part of the quiz with We Are Tottenham TV. The part two of the
final
quiz.
Part 3.
Yeah, sorry, Lisa. They won part 2. If you're talking about Spurs Talk Show versus We Are Tottenham TV, then Ben and Sim smashed me in the second game. But we have got the decider. We haven't figured it out yet. And a little super chat from Moondog. Thank you so much, my man. I really appreciate you, Moondog.
Thanks,
He's just subscribed as well.
Appreciate it,
you, buddy. Mate, a lot of love coming in for you, my man. A lot of love coming in for you right now.
Appreciate it, guys. And the other question that always gets asked is, you're over 1,000 subs. Why can't you do the super chats and stuff? It's because all the forms and that take a little bit of time, and we've had to process it all. I've been very busy, but that sort of stuff will be coming as well. But yeah, just appreciate the sub. I know that's completely free to do so. So yeah, but Lisa, part 3 is 1-1. We'll have to get that. trying to get Sean and We Are Tottenham TV boys, both of them, on at the same time is a bit of a...
I've been running scared a little bit, if I'm honest.
He's trying to delay it as long as possible.
Yeah. I was hoping everyone would forget. And then like in a year's time, I'd say, what are you talking about? You never beat me. But I've got to do it at some point. All right, guys, we're going to move on now to the Chelsea game. Let's start. We got half an hour. James, if you got half an hour still, mate, we're going to run through this, bro. I'm just going to... just quickly, I'm going to run through these comments quickly, and we'll stop for anything interesting. But this is from the press conference this morning or this afternoon. Antonio Conte was asked, has the gap closed between us and Chelsea? He says, I don't know. I'm not a journalist. I think you can tell this much better than me. If I have to reduce the gap, I need to work with the team. Last season, we played 3 games after only 2 months since I arrived. Now we've had 7 months plus 1 month of pre-season. A little bit of saying, you know what? Before then, it was a little bit unreasonable to judge my team versus Chelsea. But now we'll see. He says, I think we can implement that as a team. We're better than last season. The transfer market is for us and Chelsea, but the most important thing is not only to sign players, but which is really important, especially when you have to face your competitors or four competitions. You have to have as good a squad in the numerical aspect, but also to try and improve the quality. And I think we've done this. He seems to be happy, James. He says, I think that Chelsea is one of the best teams in England and Europe. 2 years ago, they won the Champions League, and last season they won the World Cup as a club. I was there. I know the investment that they do every season. James, just quickly on that, mate. Are you reading into that he's saying last season they obviously dominated us, but you know, I didn't have that much time with the club, and also I'm happy with the improvements we've made.
Oh, I think he's definitely happy with the improvements that we brought in. But the other thing to note is, I also read that as, you know, he said a window isn't just the players coming in. You've got to have a squad for 4 competitions. Is that him that maybe he's happy with the incomings, but he's not quite happy with a squad for 4 competitions? I read it as that. I think he is potentially hinting that we could have 1 or 2, maybe 3 players that he would ideally want for 4 competitions: Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Like, if you ask yourself the question, Sean, do you think Spurs have a good squad depth to compete in 4 competitions? I wouldn't say that with, you know, my head held high, confident, saying we've got a squad depth for 4 competitions. I'm a little bit worried. I think, like we've just been discussing for like an hour, that we need 2 or 3 more signings. But and your other question was on what was the other?
It's whether he think, like, the question essentially was, he was asked whether the gap has closed, and he's saying, well, you know what, the gap was big last season, but I'd only been around for a little bit. Now I've had more time.
I think he's, you know, being quite truthful there. At the end of the day, when we played them, we lost 3 times in, was it 4 weeks? I mean, it was demoralising. Both those Carabao Cup games, we lost 4-0 on aggregate, was it? We lost in the league in between. I mean, it was absolute shambles. But then again, he'd only been there 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
And so he hadn't had a chance to, you know, a lot of the players have been playing a 5 at the back for the first time in their career. It suited some players straight away. Other players took time. I mean, we saw the likes of Ben Davies, Eric Dyer playing a lot better during the end of the season. And therefore, if you just take those 2 examples, you would say that he has had more time and the gap has closed. So I think he's talking the truth. I think Conte, there's not often where he doesn't speak the truth. We saw it against Burnley last year. What was that, the 3rd or 4th game under Conte, where we thought he was going to walk because we lost 1-0 to a Ben Mee header, and he was absolutely fuming. Do you remember? It was the January transfer window.
Listen, I mean, I've never been a fan of his press conferences. That wasn't the 3rd or 4th game. That was
7th or 8th January. Yes,
it was January or February time, and it was like the week before we'd just beaten Man City, or we'd beaten somebody big, and he was like waxing lyrical, and then we lost that game, and he was a flip flop. It was a real flip flop mode of like talking it up, and then when something went wrong, he was threatening to walk. I'm not a fan of his press conferences. A lot of people say, you know, they're misinterpreted, or he's talking to Sky Italia and stuff. I also wasn't. Listen, I'm not criticizing him. I love the fact that he's a Tottenham manager, and of course, whatever he wants, I'll get behind him. However, as a content creator, you have to have your opinion, and my opinion is that sometimes he says things that are unnecessary for whatever rationale he thinks it helps. I don't necessarily think they always do. I didn't think it was necessary for him to call out Jed Spence as a club signing. Like, if I was Jed Spence and the day after I've just held up the shirt, I read that my manager says he wasn't my signing, he's a club signing, I don't understand the value in doing that stuff. I know he's a master tactician on the pitch. I just don't necessarily think he's a master tactician when it comes to press releases. So
no, and I do agree with that. And sometimes he does scare us and speak his mind. Like against, I'm going to go back to it, that Burnley game. He was basically, some people were interpreting it as he was walking that evening. Like, people were genuinely scared he was going to walk.
Yeah.
We beat Man City. I think it was 3-2 on the Saturday, and on the Tuesday night we lost 1-0 on a wet, rainy night at Turf Moor. And he was literally saying, I've had enough of the club. I can't remember the exact words, but he was basically saying he had enough.
The vibe was that he wasn't happy,
Exactly. So, yes, I do agree that sometimes his press conferences aren't the most structured and the way he says it. But also, I do understand that sometimes when he's speaking, like you said about the Sky Italia thing, there's a misinterpretation about what he's actually saying. Because let's be honest, English isn't his first language. It's not his... sometimes what he says, we do misinterpret it. That's not his fault. That's not our fault. That's just how it comes across. So, but anyway, let's get into the next.
Yeah, 100%. We got to carry on. Soren, mate, the link isn't to come into the stream, my man. We're actually wrapping up in literally half an hour, bro. I've got a couple other streams I've got to do on other channels, but listen, mate. Come on Sunday after the Chelsea game. Love to have you on, my man. Love to have you on. Let me just skip through this. There's a few pages here, so I want to talk about the tactics. So I'm going to skip through the Ndombele question. I'm actually going to skip through the has the team improved from last season, essentially saying, yes, we have. Now I want to come to, has the tactical side improved? He says, you have seen the first game we played with the same players from last season, but for sure we're better than last season. We have a squad with a number of players, more reliable than last season. We improved the quality because, when you play every 3 days, you need to make rotations. And if you don't drop the quality with rotation, you have more chance for success. I think Tottenham needed to do this. It was normal. We were foolish if we didn't do this. I think the club understood this. It sounds to me, mate, that without going into too much detail, that whilst me, you, and every other Tottenham fan, whether in the comments or in the community, can disagree, agree, give the window a 10 out of 10, a 9, a 2, whatever else. It does come across from Conte's comments, not just in this little clips I'm doing here, but also in his general feeling. He's saying he's happy, he's content. Like it's not perfect, but I would never expect him to ever acknowledge it was a perfect window, because then it would be the entire pressure would be on him. And he's a smart guy, so he always wants to probably allow for a little bit of wiggle room. But generally, he seems like he's content. I don't think he'd be here if he wasn't. Are you in agreement with what I'm saying on that one, or do you think that there's more to it?
No, I think he's content. He seems very content this year in particular, compared to like November. Like he's even mentioned it there. I think it was the slide before. He was saying when I came in, in November we were in trouble. There you go. Now I see a lot of optimism, but we're not talking about a long time ago. He's saying we were in trouble in a number of aspects, and he's saying he's optimistic. So, because he's had time to have his stamp over 1.5 windows, he's actually feeling like it's his team. Whereas before he was picking up the absolute bombshell that Nuno and everyone else laid down. So I genuinely think he is happy, but I think there is hints in there that he wants a bit more squad depth. That's how I read it. I don't know what everyone else is thinking, but I think if he's saying about the 4 competitions and everything else, I think he's saying our squad depth's getting there, but we need 2 or 3 more signings. I really do think he's saying, and I think hopefully that will happen, but
he's also saying you wanted, again, I'm going to move away from the weather stuff because it's just the sake of saving some time here. But he's saying you wanted 2 players for every position. Have you got that now? Right? Pretty important question. I think not only for me, for a club that has to face 4 competitions, it's the minimum to have 20 players, 2 players for every role. I repeat, this is the minimum. Read into that how you will. Maybe especially for this season, because this season will be different for the World Cup, and you don't know after the injury. So maybe the club needs more players than 20.
Another hint that he wants more squad depth.
Yeah, he says, but I'm happy. I'm happy also in the way. So yeah, I think if you read between the lines, this one he's saying we've improved to the point. The bare minimum of what I needed was 20 good players, and we're there or thereabouts. Would I like more? Yeah, this is what he's saying here, right? Maybe the club needs more than 20 players, but I'm also happy that with the 20 players. So he's saying they've reached my they've reached my benchmark, but it's
the minimum. It's the minimum what he wants. He wants here. Yeah. We're here. We've crossed that level where we were last season. We got to that, and now he wants 2 or 3 more to make it. It's the same story without going off on one, Sean. It's like with Spurs in 2016-17, where we went unbeaten at White Hart Lane, and a lot of people say if we stayed at White Hart Lane 1 more season, we could have won the league. We were very close to beating Chelsea that year. We were very close to beating Leicester that year. But ultimately, everyone knows that we should have signed 2 or 3 more players to upgrade a couple more positions and the squad depth, and we would have genuinely won a trophy. Fact, I'm so certain we would have done. We were so close at one point, weren't we? And I don't want to get into a position, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat will agree with me, where we get to that position where we're then 2 or 3 players short again from winning a trophy. And because we haven't done the full Monty, because we haven't done the 100% window, we'll fall short again. And that is my only pessimistic kind of, I mean, some people probably think I've been pessimistic all video, but that's my only worry. That's my only worry is we're going to have a great 7 out of 8, 8 out of 10 window. And because we haven't signed 2 or 3 more players to complete the puzzle, we're going to fall short again. I'm not saying
you know what, James? What I would say to that, mate, is like even if we signed 2 or 3 new players, even if Tottenham had 2 of the top 6 players in the world in every position, it still doesn't guarantee that you get there. Manchester City, like there's other things. There's other things to factor in. Manchester City have gone from a 9.6 out of 10 team to a 9.9 out of 10 team.
And I get that. Liverpool as well.
Liverpool
they've had their
improved.
transition since then, yeah.
Chelsea, who knows? Like some people would say they've weakened. Other people would say, well, they're fucking throwing everything. Like they're throwing the kitchen sink at it. Like who the fuck knows? But like people look at Tottenham in a microcosm and say, have we improved enough to go there? Have we not? In their opinions, yes, we have, or no, we haven't. And I always try and say it doesn't matter. It's not a solo experiment, right? There's so many variables, and the fact that Manchester City have improved, they were already miles better than us, and the fact that they've improved again, even if we went and spent 400 million quid and signed 8-9 players that were absolute world class in every position, it doesn't mean that suddenly we're guaranteed a trophy. No. And some people will say if we don't win a trophy, then it wasn't good enough. But you're not factoring in my opinion, what Man City have done, what Chelsea are doing. Like, I don't think we're threatened by anybody behind us. Arsenal look like they've improved, but I don't think they've improved to our level. No. We're looking up towards Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester City. Have we done enough to get up to anywhere near their standard? Like, who knows?
Chelsea, but Man City and Liverpool,
Man City have just kicked on, right? I'm not sure about Liverpool. Liverpool, like losing Mane is a massive kick in the teeth to them. They'll be okay, right? They've got their man Nunes and they've got and Diaz and stuff, and who knows what will happen with some of the players that have left there. But I just think that like some Spurs fans think like whether we've done enough or not is that's all that matters is what we've done, whether we can win the trophy, and they ignore what other clubs are doing.
There's two things that I completely understand that, and I when I was saying that, of course, I've realised that Man City have been they're ridiculous compared to 2016. They're miles on from that, aren't they? Look at their squad depth; it's ridiculous. Liverpool, obviously, Klopp came in about 2015, 16. He's had the transition. I completely understand that, but if you put the shoe back on our foot, if you look at what we have right now, and you have to be as best prepared for your situation, not comparing other teams. I know you have to.
Yeah, all you can worry about is yourself, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like if you went into an exam, you don't worry about how your classmates are doing, even though you kind of do. You have to worry about what you're going to get. We have to worry about what we're going to achieve first, which is we have to have the best window possible. We have to get rid of the right players that we need to get rid of. We have to bring in the right players we need to. What I'm saying is I don't want to be talking about in March, April, when we're 10 points potentially off the league title. I'm not saying we're going to be, by the way. I'm just making an example. I don't want to be saying, oh, yeah, we should have signed Milinkovic-Savic or we should have signed Bastoni. I want to just say, do you know what? We did all we could. I'm really happy with the boys. Conte did amazing. Did what he needed to. Paratici did what they needed to. I don't want to just have to say, we were 2 or 3 players short, because I know that's the discussion that's going to happen at that point. Exactly. I can write the book. Yeah, I've been a Tottenham fan long enough to know that that's going to happen. Let's 100%, be honest.
100%.
So although Man City might be better than us, when we lost that Carabao Cup final, I went, you know what, they had 23 shots, we lost 1-0, and we had Ryan Mason in charge. Well, hang on a minute, we should have had Jose Mourinho in charge for that game. Without going off on one, Sean, I'm saying we should do all we can to win something. That was a completely stupid decision.
Should Harry Kane have been playing, like, should we have taken Lucas Moura off the pitch when he was the best player on the pitch that day?
No.
Should we have kept Harry Kane on the pitch when he hadn't kicked the ball for 3 months before the game? No, but all of those problems, when we reflect back with certain fans, those problems are ignored, and they go, well, it's Daniel Levy's fault that Tottenham haven't won the trophy yet again.
Which is narrow-minded. I want to look back and go, do you know what? We did all we could that window. We had 2 incredible windows. We got in, Romero. Then the next one we got Bentancur and Kulusevski, and the next one we got Richarlison and etc. in. I don't want to then go, you know what, we were so close to Bastoni and our defensive problems were causing us to leak goals, leak points. We should have got in a centre-back. Because I can write the book. That is...
exactly. You're absolutely right. That is exactly the tale that's going to be told. But I just hope everyone remembers that we didn't not try and get Bastoni. We didn't not meet the asking price. We didn't get Bastoni because Bastoni didn't want to go. Right?
Okay, so go out and get
Inter didn't shit or get off the pot. They've done nothing. Inter Milan have literally restricted like I said this like months ago at the start of the window. I was like, Inter Milan are so crucial to so many teams' transfer business. They have to make a decision. Do they want to get rid of Martinez? Do they want to get rid of Bastoni? Do they want to get rid of Dumfries? Do they want to get rid of Barella? Who do they want to get rid of? They need to raise 60 million quid before the end of the window. If they're going to bring Lukaku in, who are they going to get rid of? And they haven't got rid of any of them yet. They haven't got rid of any of them. Like, it's a nightmare. Inter Milan have done fuck all. They are like, and yeah, all of that shit will be forgotten about when it comes to the end of the season. And if Tottenham win a trophy or don't, people will go, well, we should have signed. Why didn't we sign Bastoni? We signed Longley, not Bastoni. That's Daniel Levy's fault.
I won't sit here and say we should have signed Bastoni. I will sit here and say we were 2 or 3 players short that we know we were in key positions. Right wing back, you said it yourself, Jed Spence, you can't see as a starter. Matt Doherty may step up and produce the form he did, but that will be a question mark come the end of the season if they don't play up to what we want them to play.
And I agree with you on that one.
100%. Left centre back, we've got in Clement Longley. Okay, Conte seems happy with this, but it's a loan deal. It's not one for the future, probably. It's not one that was on the top of our list. So we'll come back to that if we have positional problems at left centre back and go, you know, Clement Longley wasn't the answer on loan from Barcelona. We should have gone and got X, Y, and Z. Not necessarily Bastoni, however you look at it. But we were talking about Bremer for ages.
Slice and Bremer.
Torres. You know,
but if they don't want to come, like, I think this is the thing. Like, I'm with you, James. I'm loving this. This is a very frank conversation. I think we're on the same page, essentially. That for me, like, the window hasn't been great. It hasn't been great. A lot of Levy out fans think the window's been better than I think it is. I think the window's been very subpar. But at the same time, I can't sit here and say, well, we didn't try and get Bremer. We didn't try and get Bastoni. At the end of the day, these players didn't want to leave Italy. Bremer had a fucking citizenship issue. He didn't want to leave. He refused to leave. Bastoni didn't want to go. You could make the argument we could have gone and got Ndicka or someone like that, or we could have gone and got Kostic, and I agree. I don't know, but we never really saw that materialize, and none of us know what happens in those conversations. People like Memphis Depay, like Tottenham, have turned around and said, "Oh, categorically, we are not fucking interested in Memphis Depay," despite the fact that the only other name we're currently linked with to solve our offensive options is Zaniolo, and it's pretty clear that Jose Mourinho is trying to like scuttle and like completely scupper that transfer.
That won't happen. He will not. I mean, he was a bit bitter when he left Tottenham, wasn't he? Because of the way he was treated.
He hates Tottenham.
He got axed before a final. You know, he counts it as a half trophy in his interviews, which I think is amusing. I mean, I love Jose personally. I will never say a bad word about Jose Mourinho. Agree with me or not, you know, I like the guy. I think what he tried to bring in at Tottenham, I don't think he was fully backed and fully given the opportunity. Yes, our results went to pot, but that's another conversation. But what I'm saying is there is no way, I agree with what you're saying, Zaniolo is coming to Tottenham. Mourinho's just not going to let it happen. Even if we came in with 60 million, it's just not happening, is it?
Yeah.
It's not really, it's not a Bastoni that's never going to go anywhere. But having said that, there are options out there. And I know it's not FIFA where you can just go and buy a player and be unrealistic about who you genuinely can afford and realistically acquire. However, Paratici's job is to improve this squad. I think he's doing that. I think we need to get rid of some more players that we know, which we've already mentioned. But then we are, like we said, I don't want to repeat myself, we're going to mention about being 2 or 3 players short of squad depth and everything else. We have 4 competitions. Yeah. And there is players out there that would love to come to Tottenham, play in the Champions League, even if they don't play in the Champions League, play in the FA Cup and some Premier League games. There is players out there that we haven't even mentioned that would come to Tottenham for the right price, and we know we have the money. We know we have the money to do it. That would come to Tottenham, would be an amazing addition to our squad. But it's what ifs, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's what ifs, could have been, and everything else.
I just hope at the end of the season, whatever happens, if we don't win a trophy or if we don't do as far as we will, I just hope that. I just love it if there was like a Torah, like a Bible that remembers the details of the window. You know, I'm not saying, like I say, I'm torn on this one because on the one hand, I'm like, we should have done much better than we've done. And I'm never going to defend Daniel Levy where he's not defendable, and I never have, as much as people think I always defend him. I'm not, and I think on this one we haven't gone after players that we should have done. I think we made the decision to get Perisic too early. I love Perisic. I think he's going to be a superstar, but he's 33 I think Kostic was available, but we went for him. We probably started that deal happening in February or March. It's done. And now can you justify getting Kostic? I don't know if Kostic would even have come anyway, but when you look at the deal that was done for him to go to Juventus, that to me is madness. It's the most affordable deal for the best left back that can be with you for 3 or 4 years. And there's plenty of other examples of that. To me, I don't think it's a great window, but I also think that there are certain things that people need to remember if the worst happens, and that is that we should have got Bastoni is not an argument that I want to hear in May because we went for him and he wasn't available.
But you've got to also say, someone's just put it in the chat, I think it's Lynch. What's the thinking behind this? I still don't know how to say his name. Udogie or Udogie or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
Udogie.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind this? Because I'm getting a lot of Pepe Matar Sarr vibes about this, where we sign a player
Emerson
that looks
Royale fucking
all that, but we sign a player that looks decent. We loan them back out. Then they're meant to come back in like Pepe Matar Sarr played a few friendlies. You'll probably get loaned back out again because you're not ready.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind this? Are we just thinking it's going to bud into some absolute future star?
No, I think it's a case of he develops over the next year. And if he continue, we haven't got space for him right now, but let's say he carries on in the Italian league, which is easier for left backs to do well in, then he goes and scores. I think he scored 3 goals and 6 assists last year. Let's say he goes and does 6 goals and 10 assists next year. He comes to Tottenham. We paid 15 million quid for him with an upturn to 23 million pending what he does at Tottenham. But even if he doesn't play for Tottenham, he's immediately worth 40 million quid. Right. Same with Pepe Matar Sarr. Pepe Matar Sarr was already valued. People, at least as far as the noise in the media said, that there was, I think it was an Italian club. It might have even been AC Milan that was saying they were interested in Sarr and that they were making an inquiry about him. And Tottenham put a 15 million quid surplus on the price that we already paid to Metz for him last season. So we paid whatever it was, 10 million quid for him, and we were willing to sell him for 30 million quid. I think that maybe there's an element of that in it where you go and get cheap deals if they're available now, you loan them back, you let them develop, and if they become great players, you bring them over. If they're not fit for the Premier League, then you already know you're going to make your money back on the deal.
Get that. So again, we're talking about a safe investment, like we said about Daniel Levy. Loves a safe investment, doesn't want to lose money. And I'm not going to go on the Daniel Levy because I'm not either way. I'm not either way about that. To be honest with you. But what I will say is, this point about from Lynch is if we could have spent more money, even less money, and got in Kostic. For the now,
I agree with you.
Now, 100%. What is a better move?
Yeah,
because I'm not going to write this guy up before he's kicked a football for my club. But what I am going to say is, if we're letting deals slip like Kostic, which could have been a possibility, he's 29 years old. 29 years old. So he's got plenty of years left in him. Conte's project is for the now. We know he's not going to stay more than 1-2 years, probably, unless some miracle happens and he stays more. Mm-hmm. So why are we getting this guy when we've got a proven player that's going to be unreal, that had amazing assists last year and was a key part of getting Frankfurt to the Europa League final? It doesn't make sense to me when we know Reguilon's probably going.
Mate, I 100% agree with you, James. I 100% agree with you. Like I say, I always try my best to call a spade a spade. On that one, like, there's so many fucking things, there's so many variables, so many things that you don't know about what's happened here and there and every deal. But on the fact that Kostic was somebody that every single Spurs fan wanted, and everybody in world football saw what he did for Frankfurt last season, and the fact that he goes to Juventus for chump change and on a chump change salary.
That's what annoys me.
And we needed a left wing back.
We still probably
you could even have made the argument, move Perisic up the field. Don't use him as left wing back. He can play as a left wing forward. He can play behind Sonny. We don't then need Zaniolo. You could even make the argument that Perisic could come in and play in the centre. Perisic has played 10. He's played on the left. He's played on the right. He can play right wing back. You don't even necessarily need him to be your reserve for Sessegnon. So Kostic would have still made a ton of sense. And the fact that we didn't go after it, if that's Daniel Levy's decision, then Daniel Levy is a dickhead. If that was Conte's decision, then I hope Conte's master plan makes sense, because to me, Sessegnon is always 5 minutes away from an injury. He's 5 minutes away from a great game.
Which
He's 5
is what
minutes away from an injury.
Which is what I was about to say. Let me play devil's advocate for the 7th time this video. What happens if Ryan Sessegnon, although he played a great first game and I thought he was one of the better players for Tottenham, up there with the Man of the Match awards, what if, touch wood, it doesn't happen, but what if he goes and gets injured fairly soon? Reguilon's gone, and we've got Perisic, 33 years old, which, okay, he's as fit as a fiddle, but we've then only got one left wing-back option. Then what do you do? Because Udogie, or whatever his name is gone back to Udinese.
Yeah.
And so then we'll be saying the Kostic debate, won't we? We'll be saying, well, why didn't we sign this guy?
I said that today on my walk this morning. I was saying, unfortunately, I think you have to shake hands with the idea that if you only have 2 players for every position, and then you have 2 utility players, and for me, the utility players are probably Matt Doherty and say Pape Sarr. But if you have 2 players for every position, if you get 2 injuries at the same time to the same position, that's just, that's bad luck, and it's poor planning potentially. And I think that maybe in the case, but you can't have 3 players for every position just in case 2 of them get injured. So you have to just figure that out. But for me,
Conte said he wants 2 minimum. He said that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And like I say, for me, having a left wing back role, which is so crucial to our formation, and one of them is 33, despite him being a physical specimen, he is, but he's still 33. So, every month he's a little bit older and the muscles don't repair and recover as quickly. And you've got Sessegnon, who's a youngster, but he gets injured every 5 games. To me, having 2 players in every position, but when you choose to have 2 players in a crucial position, one of them who's injury prone and the other one who's old, I think that's a risk that we shouldn't have taken. I'm never going to criticize Conte. He knows his squad better than any of us, certainly better than me. He knows football better than me. I don't even know football that well, but for me, I just think that as an opinion, I think that it was silly to make the decision to have those 2 as our main guys if we're going to get rid of Reguilon. And when you look at the fact that there was Kostic available for such poor money, cheap money, then I think it was a bad decision.
Two of the 3, maybe 4 positions which are our weakest are right wing back and left wing back, right?
Yeah.
They are the most key positions, arguably, in a Conte system 5 at the back, where you need the creativity to produce the crosses, to produce the bombing runs up the line, to feed Kane, Son, and Kulusevski, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got question marks over those positions. That is my main worry about anything in this squad. Love Kane, love Son, love Kulusevski. I'm so excited to see how many goals they score. They've already, Kane and Son haven't even scored yet, and I know they'll score goals. Midfield, I'm not worried. We've got 4 decent options, obviously, when Skippy's back.
4 amazing options as well.
Could sit here and talk about our midfield for half an hour and sing the praises. Not concerned. Hugo Lloris was brilliant last season and the year before. Question marks over his age, but we've got Fraser Forster as a backup if shit does hit the fan, right? Right centre back, Romero, unbelievable Rolls Royce. Centre back is a question mark over Eric Dyer. Is he good enough, etc.
I like Eric Dyer. I'm okay. Do you know what? I'm actually okay, James, with our centre back options. If it comes to it, of course, I'd like to get a better one in to replace Sanchez, but I'm actually okay with it. I think that Dyer I know that a lot of people. He's very polarizing as a player. I like him. I like that Eric. I like Ben Davies. I think that Longley will do a really good job. I think he'll surprise a lot of people. And Romero, as long as he can maintain his ability to time his tackles, because if he doesn't, I think he'll have red cards on his hand. But I'm okay with the defense. I would like another defender, but if it doesn't come in, I'm not going to be too worried. How do you feel about that?
I still think we need another centre back. I mean, the people that will say. I'm not pointing fingers. The people that will say Eric Dyer stepped up last season, which I agree, will be first to then say, typical Eric Dyer, he's made a mistake, or typical Ben Davies, he's made a mistake. That's just what Spurs fans are like.
Flip-flop fans.
That's what Spurs fans are like. So there'll be people, I mean, I can see people in the chat saying, are we already making excuses for Chelsea? I'm not making excuses. I'm just
We haven't even talked about Chelsea.
I know.
You know what, James, before I let you continue, just so I let you know, guys, I've got to wrap it up because I've got to jump on another show. But listen, James, are you available tomorrow? Can we do part 2 of this where we actually talk about Chelsea?
So we called it Chelsea v Tottenham preview. I think you changed the title to Analysing Tottenham's
I'm going to change the title, change the thumbnail for anybody who is going to come in late. But James, are you around tomorrow, like lunchtime? I'll do any of the preview stuff you want on your show as well.
I am, mate. Yes, I am. We'll do it.
I've got all these things I want to talk about, but I actually have to.
Bloody hell.
I've got so many more slides to go through, but I have to wrap up. So
you're slowly transitioning from a 3-hour show to a 1.5 hour, and you've completely forgotten that you've got to squeeze it all in.
It's so true. It's so true.
I loved it.
Listen, mate, let me wrap it up now.
Let's quickly, even if it's 2 minutes, quickly preview what we think is going to happen. Even if we don't give our actual prediction, I think we should at least talk about the game.
It's fine, yeah. Oh, fuck it. We'll go until 2:45. We'll go until 2:45. All right. Whose
channel is it?
It's fine. No, we'll keep going. I've got another channel. I've got to start at 8 o'clock. On a brand new channel that I haven't been on before. Okay. Team news, right? Team news for the Chelsea game. Basically, with the exception of Mateo Kovacic, Thomas Tuchel's got an entirely fully fit squad. Kalidou Koulibaly was forced off with a cramp injury, but he's back. Essentially, they're fully fit. Alonso is finalising a move to Barcelona. He's absent. For us, Oliver Skipp's still out. Richarlison does return from a ban, but is unlikely to start. And we know that, I don't know, but is Basuma? I think Basuma's still unavailable. Longley, I've heard, is now unavailable today as well. So before I come to the match facts, do you agree with this as a somewhat starting 11? Lloris in goal, Davies, Dyer, Romero, Emerson Royale and Sessegnon as the wing backs, Bentancur and Højbjerg to continue. Essentially, it's an unchanged squad, James.
Southampton. Yeah, same team as Southampton. Why wouldn't you? Went absolutely brilliantly, even though I still think we can go up a level from how we played against Southampton. But yes, I do think that will be the 11. And I do think, looking at Chelsea's, is probably going to be something similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this was the same team that they started with: Mendy, Koulibaly, Silva, and Azpilicueta, Reece James, Kante, Jorginho, Chilwell. I think there's a little bit of news that maybe Chilwell might be out and that Cucurella might start from what I've seen this afternoon. And then you got the front three of Sterling, Mount, and Havertz. I mean, I'm not worried about Havertz. I think that, Raheem Sterling obviously always does pretty well against Tottenham, and obviously Chelsea do well against Tottenham. Would you agree with that as the two starting 11s before I move back to the stats on the game?
I do. Yes, I do agree.
All right. So here's the match facts, guys. Super quick. Chelsea have scored at least 2 goals in 13 of their last 15 home matches against Tottenham. Chelsea have kept a clean sheet in 6 of the last 7 matches against Tottenham. Tottenham have been winning at both half-time and full-time in their last 4 Premier League matches. Chelsea are undefeated in their last 13 matches against Tottenham in all competitions. Tottenham have won their last 4 Premier League. Tottenham have kept the clean sheet in 5 of their last 7. I mean, look, the stats basically say if Tottenham weren't playing Chelsea, then they're going to keep a clean sheet. They're going to score They're going to score a majority of goals. But the fact that they're playing Chelsea suggests that if form continues, then Chelsea will dominate and score at least 2 goals. How do you see it going? Is there anything different that you see about this particular game than previous seasons?
I mean, of course I see something different. Our squad has improved quite drastically in those 15 games where we've conceded 2 goals in 13 times. But at the same time, there's always going to be this voodoo going to Stamford Bridge, whether it's Conte in charge, Jose, Mourinho, Nuno, even Poch. We had this problem where correct me if I'm wrong, we've won 1 or 2 times at Stamford Bridge in 25 years. I mean, okay, I said I wasn't going to be pessimistic. I'm optimistic for Sunday. I think
I've had a big bet on 3-1. I've had a big bet on 3-1 Tottenham.
I think we're going to come away with a result. I really do. I could see Spurs winning 2-1, but there is something about playing Chelsea where we kind of just go a bit, because we've still got players that have been there and experienced those 15 losses, right? 15 games and conceding 2 goals each time, and that is a little bit of a concern. But there's also fresh blood. Kulusevski hasn't played Chelsea much. Romero will absolutely thrive against Chelsea because he'll just go in, like he did in the Roma friendly, for goodness sake, and just clatter
I'm just worried though if he mistimes it well, if he mistimes a tackle and he gets the early yellow card, it could really scupper our chances a little bit.
Romero's prone to get a yellow or red card every single game because he's just an absolute nutcase, but we wouldn't have it any other way. I absolutely love him, but there's question marks for me over the wing backs against the Chelsea wing backs and their wingers. Sterling and Mount. I know Mount doesn't go too wide, but Sterling is against. Sterling will be up against Royale, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a key area of the game, won or lost.
Yeah. You know what? I think people are sleeping on Royale. I think we're seeing a new like it's Clark Kent versus Superman. Everyone's been looking at Clark Kent. No one realised that he's slipped into his lycra. I think Emerson Royale.
I can't see what we were agreeing for a lot of this video, Sean, but I could really rant about Emerson Royale. I cannot start saying he's going to be version 2 this season. I mean,
he could be, mate. He's getting better and better every game. Come on, you got to give him. Listen, against Chelsea. I see Scott M's comments here, right, saying he's concerned if we start with the same team. He wants to see Perisic and Basuma start. Whilst I understand the Basuma thing, I personally think that if you remember last season, Sessegnon earned his stripes, earned his spurs with Tottenham when he played against Chelsea at home and away, Arsenal at home, Man City and Liverpool. He fucking had Salah in his pocket, right? If you're going to play against a team where you're going to be sat into a back 5-4-1 for 60% of the game, which you would naturally think that Chelsea away is one of those games. Certainly Liverpool, certainly Man City, you have to take that role where you just sit back and then you hope that Sonny's going to go and break. Kane and Kulusevski can do the damage. I understand the argument for Bissouma. For me, I think that Sessegnon is made for these games. He can handle defense. He's not that great going forward yet. He's okay, but he's not great. But I also think you can make the same argument for Emerson. If you're going to have the wing backs that are going to be pegged back and that are going to face a lot of corners, Emerson's one of the best aerial defenders of corners in the league, let alone in Tottenham. He's brilliant aerially. Emerson's ability to head the ball clear from crosses and from corner kicks is statistically phenomenal. It's one of the few things that people overlook about him, but he was actually outstanding last season with his ability to head the ball clear. And I think we're going to face a lot of corners against us potentially if Chelsea turn it on tomorrow on Sunday. So I think that Emerson's the right choice ahead of Doherty or ahead of Spence. And I think on the left side, I think that you have to make the argument that Sessegnon's going to potentially be able to pocket Havertz, or if Mount drifts that way, or 1 second. Who's the other guy?
What are you trying?
Let me get that sheet up again. Or if Azpilicueta heads down there, I think that Ryan Sessegnon is going to be a better person to pocket the right side of Chelsea more than Perisic would. I think that Perisic should be released for the next game against Forest or Wolves or whoever, or West Ham or whoever we've got next. But for the Chelsea game, I think you have to keep it as it is. If Højbjerg struggles against Conte, then you hook him at half-time and you bring on Bissouma. For sure, 100%. But for me, I think you need to have Sessegnon on the left ahead of Perisic.
See, I was just going to very quickly say, I think our best centre mids on paper is Bissouma and Bentancur, right? And that's the centre mid partnership everyone wants to see eventually. But I think against Chelsea, I would play, this might be controversial, I would play Bissouma and Højbjerg, because I think you need two engines in there that are going to work this. I'm not saying Bentancur doesn't, but I think he's a different type of midfielder. I think that Bissouma and Højbjerg would work quite well against Chelsea, because I think Højbjerg will, he works his socks off. We cannot fault Højbjerg's commitment. Yes, he can have a stinker of a performance, but he does go unsung a lot of the time in terms of his work ethic and what he produces for the team. And Bissouma had one of his best games last season away at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Brighton ended up drawing either 1 or 2 there. They scored late, but Bissouma was instrumental in that as well. He was class, and he knows how to play against the big boys. Bissouma shines. I mean, he shined against us in that that FA Cup game where we beat them. And
Southampton. It's Brighton. We won 3-1, but he was.
That's it. And Bentancur and Kulusevski made their debuts.
Bentancur's debut.
That's it.
And when Bentancur came on in the 75th minute, he calmed it down. But before then, Bissouma fucking controlled the midfield for sure.
Yeah, and Kulusevski. It was both their debuts, and they were Bissouma run the show for Brighton. It says all you need to know. Bissouma plays very well against the top teams. So for me, I don't know what you're thinking. I would honestly play Højbjerg and Bissouma but then it's a bit of an experiment if they haven't played together yet, right?
That's the thing. I don't want to experiment. That's also my point. We fucking ran out of preseason friendlies. Like we should have had an extra preseason friendly because we never got the chance to see Bentancur and Bissouma play. They have not played a minute together, James.
Exactly.
Can we experiment with them against fucking Chelsea? I don't think so. Not against Conte.
Maybe I'm going to sit here and backtrack what I've said, but in terms of ideally, I think they are the best to fit in terms of how they play because we're probably coming up against Conte, right? The guy is an absolute animal. He's an absolute machine. You know, N'Golo Kante is one of the best centre mids in the world, certainly on his day. And he's going to run his socks off, and we need two engines to stop that. And Jorginho, who can also be a decent midfielder. I'm not sure he's as good as Kante, but, you know, do you not agree? I think...
Yeah. No, I do. Listen, mate, what I would say, though, is generally speaking, like I've got so much more I want to say about the Chelsea game, mate. So if you've got time tomorrow, we can jump on. If not, I'll have to do it. You know, love you too. We've got the whole fucking preview. I've got a million questions I wanted to ask. We never got to it because we ended up spending the whole time talking about the window and stuff. But, mate, it's been an absolute fucking blast talking to you, mate. It's been fun. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you've enjoyed it, there's 130 odd people still watching. Can you please smash a like on this on the video? It costs you nothing. It just helps the algorithm. It helps the channel. And I'm changing up the guests. And listen, James has been absolutely phenomenal. So show a bit of love for him as well. Get over there and smash a sub on Spurs Related. Once again, just hit that link. Hit that link for me, guys. And if any of you haven't already, just hit the subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it means the world to James. He's an absolute legend of a guy. And his team over there are fantastic as well. I love Jack. He's been my partner on the quizzes. I love Andre. Is there a fourth member, or is it a silent member?
Joe as well. Sometimes
Joe.
He was actually a journalist for some of the papers. So yeah, it's a great group of lads, and we have guests on like Sean and Irish Dave, Irish Hotspur, Jack. We are Tottenham TV, who I mentioned earlier. I've been on a quiz against Sean, so that's the other thing. The quizzes, they're just great fun. We're going to get them going more and more soon. So yeah, really do appreciate anyone that heads over because, we're really trying to push it at the moment, as is a lot of different Spurs channels. There's so many out there.
There's so many.
You're spoiled for choice, really, aren't you?
But James and Spurs Related is a fucking brilliant one, guys. Smash the like button on this one. Smash the like and the subscribe button over on James's channel. I love you guys. Sorry we didn't get to too much of the Chelsea preview. I'll do that. I'll make sure I make up for it, and I'll pick that one up tomorrow at some point tomorrow afternoon.
It's fine, Sean. We've reeled them in. This is like the prequel. This is the prequel to the actual show.
I gotta go and change the banner after this, guys. If you are interested, I'm going on. I've been invited onto another channel. That is, it's not Tottenham related, but tonight it is. It's Tottenham against Chelsea related. They're called Big Six Bants, and I've got to know a few of those guys over there, and a few of the guys on a few other channels. One of them's called Never a Foul Podcast. I'm branching out away from just the Tottenham community and going and finding a few other channels out there that are more just football related rather than just Tottenham. You can find me over there on that channel. I'll just put in the chat here. I'll be over there in 15 minutes. Guys, I love you all. Please hit the smash. Please hit the smash. Please hit the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. And we will be back here tomorrow. And I'll also be over on James's channel as well to do the week 2 predictions.
Correct.
I will also be tomorrow calling out the Premier League week 1 results. There's some really interesting results. Carl Patrick Vineyard, if you are watching, you have done very well. I think you're in second place to somebody I haven't spoken about before. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I love you guys. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. As always, guys, as always, bye-bye.